Okay, well, from this shelf over here, I'm going to pick a book. Now that's the magic, Steve. And it's called Best Broadcast Tales. And these are short stories that were broadcast on the BBC in 1940. And although many of them are about the war, this little story stands out. It's by A.E. Coppard, and it's called Rocky and the Bailiff. Starts with some music. Rocky was a whistle player, and he played at weddings and parties and fairs and for dancing bears. Now, Rocky's wife ran off with a one-eyed bootmaker. That's another story. But when she ran off, it affected Rocky. He went a bit deaf, and he got a bit wise, and he got into conjuring and a little bit of white magic. Now, one day, he had seen smoke rising over Martingale's farm, and he knew they were burning the bullocks because of the cattle plague. So that evening, he set off across the fields in the moonlight. And as he was stubbing along, playing his whistle, he saw in front of him a glowworm. And he bent down to look at the glowworm. "Hi, the wonders of the world," he said. "Come on, you." And he picked up the glowworm and put it in his pocket. And then he carried on playing his whistle along the edge of the field. And he came across a black beetle. "Hi, the wonders of the world." And he knelt down in the wet dew and watched the beetle. "Come on, you," he said. And he picked the beetle up and put it in his pocket with the glowworm. And he carried on. The next he came across was a big old toad swaggering along in his way. And he bent down. "Hi, the wonders of the world. Come on, you." And he picks up the toad and puts it in the pocket with the others. "Now that's 3 little dears I've got." And he carries on towards Martingale's farm. And when he's going down by Mason's Well, just outside the farm, he sees a horseman waiting under the trees. And it's the bailiff. And he's there on guard to stop people coming near the farm. Because, as you know, the plague can travel on a body's boots from farm to farm. "Hey, stop there," says the bailiff. "What are you doing here?" And Rocky says, "Ah, I have some news for you." "And what is that news? What's the good of you to bring me news?" And Rocky says, "I can cure the plague." "What? Cure the plague? The likes of you?" "Yes," said Rocky again. "I can cure the plague." And the bailiff gets down off his horse and he says, "How are you going to do that?" And Rocky says, "There are birds in the air, but we cannot touch them. There's a fire in the heart of the earth, but we cannot feel it. There is light and there is dark, but who is king? Who holds the balance? Can you tell me that?" And the bailiff says, "No." "And there is winter and summer, and each endures at the will of the other. Isn't that so?" And the bailiff says, "I reckon so. And there's the weak and the strong, and the right and the wrong. And we all come from the one love, and we all fall into the one grave. There are dreams in the air too, that are full of knowledge, if only you could catch them. And there is wisdom in the earth that you can only tell if you know how to find it. It's there, wonders, wonders." And the bailiff says, "You'd best come in." And they go into his cottage kitchen. And Rocky says, "I have 3 deers here." And he looks in his pocket and brings out the toad, and he gives it to the bailiff. "Here, hold this one." And he looks for the other 2. And he looks in all his pockets, and he turns them inside out. The bailiff says, "You seem to have lost something." And Rocky says, "Maybe I have, maybe I haven't," looking at the toad. And then he tells the bailiff what he's lost and what maybe they can find. "I reckon," said Rocky, "that the beetles swallowed the glowworm. And I think that that old murdering thief of a toad, he's eaten the beetle." And they sat down at the table in the stony kitchen. And Rocky called for paper and a quill with ink. And he wrote down a message on the paper. And then he raised his hand for quiet. And they both sat there like two weasels at a mouse hole, waiting for the ink to dry. "At the stroke of midnight, I bid you," said Rocky. And then he called the bailiff to bring him some wine made from the flowers of the sun. And the bailiff brought him a saucer of dandelion wine. And Rocky dipped the paper in the wine and screwed it up. And at the stroke of midnight, on the old clock in the corner, he threw the paper into the fire just past the soup pot. And then he took the saucer of wine to the fireplace and knelt down and dipped his finger in the wine and made a circle on the hearthstone. "Give me the toad," said Rocky. And the bailiff gave him the toad, and he placed the toad in the circle. And the old toad, he hopped about the circle, but he couldn't get out of the circle. It seemed to sting him. So he sat in the middle and blinked like a contented old man. "Come on, you," said Rocky, and he poked it with his finger, and the toad opened its mouth, and out blundered the black beetle into the circle. And the beetle blundered about in the circle, and he couldn't get out of the circle. Rocky took the toad by the hind leg and put it behind him. "Come on, you." He poked the beetle, and the beetle opened its mouth, and out dropped the glowworm. And the glowworm wriggled about in the circle. And Rocky took the beetle, and according to the bailiff, he threw it in the fire, where it exploded like a little bomb and put the fire out. And there was glowworm. There was a glowworm wriggling around the circle by the light of the candle. And there was a rustling sound, and the toad came to sit between the two men who were down on their knees watching the glowworm. And the glowworm wriggled around the circle, and it wriggled near the toad, and as it did so, the candle went out. Now, they should have been in complete darkness, but the glowworm had gone, and the toad started to glow with a light of its own, a white light, and it increased and increased until it glowed like a crystal goblet. And they both looked at the toad. They couldn't touch it, but Rocky said, "Come on, you." And he clucked at it like you call a hen. And the toad opened its mouth, and a nut fell out. And Rocky took the nut, and he crushed the nut in his teeth, and inside the nut was a piece of paper with writing on. And Rocky read the writing and told the bailiff how to cure the cattle plague. And the bailiff said he would do it. And then he gave him some soup and showed him the door. And then Rocky was out in the moonlit night, playing on his whistle and trotting along. And the only place the darkness was in the trees and in the hedges. And he played a tune about the wonders of the world. And it was a really ranting good tune. Now the bailiff, he cured all the cattle on the farm. And he went around the county curing the cattle. And he made a lot of money at it. For the arm of avarice is long and has sticky fingers. But Rocky, he never made a penny. But a deaf whistle player can blow a gale full of wind, and he has plenty of air to the acre to use up. Thank you.